Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. On Paid Blue Thoughts, we have talked about the Big Bang Theory, the atomic theory, the germ theory, the theory of evolution and so on. Today we are going to dissect another very famous theory. But before we do that, let me tell you a small story to help you understand the concept better. So there were this group of 5 bachelor friends in a small town in India. Once they decided to go on a vacation for 3 days. They decided to go to Manali. Well, it can be any destination really. You use your imagination. So having reached their destination, they find that almost all budget hotels have been booked and there are no rooms available. So they ask a taxi driver who takes them to the poshest hotel in town and says only this hotel would have any rooms. They enter this posh looking hotel named Hotel Karma Inn. A couple of the friends started rolling their eyes upon seeing the grandeur of this hotel, thinking this would be way beyond their budget. But they reach the reception and inquire if there are any rooms available. And the person at the reception says that yes, rooms are available. Suddenly, one of them spots a poster kept on the reception table. It says that you don't have to pay anything for using any of the hotel's services or rooms. Dumbstruck, he points it out to the rest of his friends. They too are equally shocked and they ask the reception if this offer really is available. The receptionist says, "Of course, sirs, we don't charge anything from our guests. We charge them from their children." Now these 5 friends are nearly on cloud 9 because they're not married yet and thus have no children. So they take the most expensive royal suite for their stay. Once in their rooms, they start enjoying all the amenities that the hotel had to offer. The whole natural and herbal with no side effects Ayurvedic spa, the 5G Wi-Fi, the yoga, health and fitness center run by the Patanjali group, the lavish food with freshly picked only organic vegetables, the lavish bars with unlimited drinks, snacks and cocktails, the in-room hot tubs with jacuzzi, the Thai massage services, you name it. Everything is offered and enjoyed by the group of 5 friends. In fact, they loved it so much that they extended their stay by 2 days, and instead of the initial 3 days, they stay over for 5 days just to enjoy everything at the hotel. And finally, when it was time to leave, they roughly calculate that they must have easily spent at least 5 lakhs in those 5 days. So they pick up their bags and baggage and reach the reception. The person at the reception asks the usual, "Did you enjoy your stay, sirs, and would you like to give us a feedback," and all that usual jazz. The group of friends slowly start to turn to leave when he stops them and says, "Thank you for your valuable feedback and here is your bill, sir. How would you like to pay, by cash or card?" The guys stop dead on their tracks. But you said we don't have to pay for anything, didn't you, when we came in? At the time you said you will collect it from our children, right? Now what is the meaning of this? Are you trying to cheat us?" And he starts to get angry. The receptionist smiles and politely responds, "Oh yes sir, that is absolutely correct. We haven't charged you anything for what you ate and drank and enjoyed. But this is a bill which your parents had run up when they were here many years ago." And with the same smile, he hands the bill over to the guy. He opens it and sees that the amount is around 55 lakhs. The guy starts to swoon and darkness starts to envelop his eyes and all around him, and he falls unconscious. End of story. So did you like the story? Do you think the hotel's offer is fair and logical? Most importantly, did you notice anything similar to the story and something you may have heard in some religious scriptures? It is with this analogy that we will unwrap the theory of karma and the highly fictitious concept of soul or Atma, which is the core principle of Hinduism. You're not paying your bills, but you're paying the bills of your previous life. If you found my story funny, then this karma concept is more funnier and absurd and illogical. The concept of soul is not something new. Early Greek philosophers have had this concept and have written about it. Amongst these, Pythagoras had this belief that the soul was immortal and eternal, existing before birth and continuing after death. He believed in what he called the transmigration of souls, also known as reincarnation. He held the idea that the soul would pass through different forms of life, experiencing multiple lifetimes and incarnations. All the earliest philosophers, be it Socrates, Plato, Aquinas, all believed that the human body was not just a body, but within it there was something that controlled our thoughts, action, and life itself. They called it the psyche, soul, spirit, which existed in all organisms, but only the human soul was immortal and capable of joining with the divine. Now, whether it is Semitic religions or Eastern religions, there was this connection of the soul with the higher superpower. Now, there is no consensus amongst religions as to how does the soul enter a body. In Christianity, the understanding of when and how a soul enters the body is not explicitly defined in the Bible, and because it is not written in the Holy Book, the question of when the soul enters the human being is a topic that led to various interpretations and beliefs. Some Christians believe in the concept of ensoulment, suggesting that the soul is present from the moment of conception. They argue that life begins at conception and that soul is created and united with the body at that point. That is the reason why many Christians are against stem cell research and abortion. There isn't a definitive statement about the precise timing of when the soul is infused into the body of a developing fetus in the Quran or its hadiths, but one commonly held belief among some Muslim scholars is that the soul or ruh is infused into the body at around 120 days or 4 months of gestation. This is based on interpretations of certain hadiths that suggest that the soul is blown into the fetus at this stage like a balloon. But some says 40 days, and as with everything else, this is open to speculations and debate. Hindu philosophy holds that the soul or Atman is eternal and passes through multiple lifetimes, taking birth in different physical bodies, and the process of the soul entering a body occurs at the time of conception itself. The soul is considered to be eternal and unchanging, moving from one body to another through the cycle of birth, death, and rebirths. Now came a supposedly groundbreaking experiment conducted by a Dr. Duncan McDougall, a physician from Massachusetts, in the early 20th century. Dr. McDougall attempted to measure the weight of the soul by studying the weight change of patients at the moment of death. Between 1901 and 1907, McDougall conducted experiments with 6 patients who were terminally ill and weighed them before and after death. He hypothesized that if the soul had physical substance, it would have weight, and at the moment of death, when the soul leaves the body, there would be measurable weight change. In his experiments, McDougall observed a very slight weight loss of about 21 grams immediately after the patients passed away. His findings were reported in a scientific journal, American Medicine, in 1907, which brought the attention to this 21 grams theory regarding the weight of the soul. But the study was inherently flawed. First of all, the study had a very small sample size of only 6 patients, which is insufficient to draw conclusive scientific conclusions. Also, the precision of weighing equipment used in the early 20th century was not accurate enough to measure such small weight changes reliably. More importantly, McDougall's experiment was not replicated or validated by other researchers, which is a critical step in scientific research to establish the validity of findings. And if that is not all, only one of the 6 subjects had lost 21 grams. One of the patients lost weight, but then the weight came back on, and 2 of the other patients registered a loss of weight at death, but a few minutes later lost even more weight. McDougall disregarded the results of other patients on various grounds and based everything on that one patient. To prove that humans have souls and that animals do not, McDougall later measured the changes in weight from 15 dogs after death. McDougall said he wished to use dogs that were sick or dying for this experiment, though was unable to find any. It is therefore presumed he poisoned healthy dogs for this experiment. The scientific community quickly saw through the flawed experiment and gave scientific explanations to the weight loss. At the time of death, there is a sudden rise in body temperature as the lungs are no longer cooling blood, causing a subsequent rise in sweating and loss of water from the body, which could easily account for McDougall's missing 21 grams. They also pointed out that dogs do not have that many sweat glands as humans, and hence they would not lose this weight in this manner after death. Or it could be that the dead body is no longer breathing, so there is loss of air. Or sometimes people pass urine or stools when dying. So there are many reasons for the loss of weight, and you need further extraordinary evidence to substantiate the extraordinary claim. Despite its rejection within the scientific community, McDougall's experiment popularized the concept that the soul has weight, and specifically that it weighs 21 grams. In Hinduism, the concept is best depicted by this picture. The soul travels from one person to another until it reaches the sadhu or sannyasi. Once it reaches the rishi, then the vacation is over. Rishis are supposed to have a direct Wi-Fi connection with the Paramatma, which is the main server, and then the soul attains what is called the moksha, union with the divine. The religion attributes the soul with the idea of purification. The soul is a spark called Jivatma that comes out of the main server called Paramatma. It comes from somewhere and enters the body during conception. Don't ask from where and why. Then it resides in the body, completes its school and college education and gets the doctorate, and then when you die, it just leaves you and attaches itself to another being. As it travels, it either cleanses itself by people doing good things or get dirtier when they do bad deeds. Finally, it ends up in the body of a rishi or saint and gets out of this vagabond life and goes back to the source. A concept which does not even have 21 grams of scientific evidence. Now, some people say that it is the soul that gives life to a body. That is why when the soul leaves the body, it becomes a dead body. This is a ridiculously incorrect idea. The first form of any life, the embryo, is formed from the union of two things, the sperm and the egg. Both has life. If either one doesn't have life, then the embryo won't be formed. So life begins from things which already have life and doesn't come from an outside source. Now, what is the body? It's a chemical factory where there are hundreds of chemical reactions that are taking place, releasing energy. When there is a stoppage or block in one or more of these chemical reactions, that is when death happens. And death is a process. It is not something that just happens like poof in 1 second. And even after we die, there are plenty of chemical reactions that are taking place within the body, which includes decomposition. So the concept that the soul is what gives life to a body is utter rubbish, since the body has life. Why? Well, think of this scenario. Imagine the egg and sperm of two people are stored in a semen bank. It can be kept alive for many years. Now suppose the actual donors die and their souls leave their body and goes elsewhere. Now the egg and sperms are fused and a new life is formed. So where did the soul of that person come from? Socho. Now when death happens, it is not like a sudden event like switching off a light bulb. It is a slow process like the gentle lengthening of a shadow. That is why we are able to donate our organs upon death. Many of our organs can be transplanted at various times even after the death of the body. If the soul left us at the time of death and has caught its next flight, then how is it that these organs are still alive and ready to work inside another body? Now the root of all these concepts seems to stem from the Gita, which talks a lot about this soul and transmigration of souls. In it, Krishna talks a lot about the soul residing in one person and then going away to another person when that person dies. It is like this note that I have in my hand. It was with someone else yesterday, with me today, and it will be with someone else tomorrow. So this note is not really mine. So what is the point of holding on to this note? But that is what people do. They hold on to their notes. Now the Pandavas killed the Kauravas, right? Did they? Not if you believe in the karma theory. According to Krishna, Arjuna is not killing any souls. They are still alive. It is with this blatant lie that he urges Arjuna to kill his family. But Arjuna was more set in his mind as he realized that he was indeed killing living people. The loss of a living body was what caused the Vishada Yoga in Arjuna. And Krishna tries to persuade Arjuna by telling a silly story about souls not dying. I am on Arjuna's side on this matter. He was concerned about the actual reality. Does it benefit Arjuna in any way if the souls don't die and they move on? It doesn't affect him in any way. But his family, his teachers, would no longer be there. That is a valid concern. That is one reason why Ambedkar said that Krishna would make a very bad lawyer. Imagine standing in court in front of a judge with a person who committed murder and claiming that the person is incapable of killing someone since the dead person's soul is still alive somewhere else. Anyways, today not too many people use the word soul. They have found a new gen word popularized by Sadhgurus and Deepak Chopras. consciousness. Thousands of papers have been published, hundreds of books with hundreds of pages have been written about this one word, consciousness. In fact, as Michio Kaku once said, never have so many people devoted so much time to produce so little as the hunt for this consciousness. And if we see the level of consciousness, we can see that even amongst ourselves, we have different levels of consciousness. In fact, even within a single person, the levels can vary. The levels of consciousness that we had when we were an infant is lesser than when we were a child and when we are an adult. If you show an infant a mirror, he or she may not recognize that it is his or her own reflection that he or she is seeing. They may think it is another person. Now as the child grows up, they realize that they are seeing himself or herself. But people often equate consciousness as something similar to the soul, something that is fully formed and enters from some master server. Now I heard some people trying to extend that thought in ridiculous ways to claim that the universe has a consciousness and mix in quantum physics into the heady mixture. Quantum physics doesn't talk about consciousness at all. This is a clear example of I don't understand X and I don't understand Y, so X equals to Y. I don't understand quantum physics, I don't understand consciousness, so quantum physics talks about consciousness. Consciousness is actually an emergent property of the brain. Think about it like the wetness of water. Water is formed from two gases, hydrogen and oxygen, both highly combustible gases. When they combine together in one particular form, it becomes water, which can be used to put out fires. When they were gases, they did not have the property of wetness, but when they became water, the property called wetness emerges. Consciousness is similar to that. It is a byproduct of what our brain does. And it is a gradual process produced by the brain as a result of certain neurochemical reactions. It is not like a USB drive that gets plugged in, like how some people portray it. It has varying levels even within the same person. That is the problem when someone equates soul with consciousness. You would then need to say that you have 10% soul, 25% soul, 50% soul, etc. as the level of consciousness increases. As per the karma theory, the soul cannot be broken, burned, cut, dissolved or harmed in any way. So soul and consciousness are not the same. Consciousness is real and soul isn't. And as for karma theory, that is just a waste of one's time. So that's it for today, folks. Some reasons why we should not waste our time and effort in the theory of karma and the concept of souls. I hope you liked this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe to the new channel and click on the bell icon and select all. The Rational Scientist will see you soon in another scientific temper promoting video. Bye bye for now.